It's really just a perfect book. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Get that coffee and let's talk about a book. Welcome to my new place. It looks very, very similar to the last one I had in this respect. There's much more natural light in here. It's beautiful. Beautiful over here in Washington. Thrilled to be over here. Today's episode is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet, specifically this awesome topographic model. If you ever find yourself trying to cross a flooded river with your dead mother in a coffin in a wagon while you're on horseback, waist deep in floodwater with a log coming straight at you, you know what's not going to survive that trip? Your leather wallet. You know what will survive? These things are great. They are light, sleek, industrial. I thought I might lose it by this point, but I haven't. Not once. It's got it looks like this rad map with these coordinates on it. It holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash on the back. This is the cash clip that comes in the box. You can put that on if you would prefer that to the strap. Since it's designed to fit into your front pocket, you'll be saving yourself a lot of back pain, and being tall, Lord knows I have enough of that already. There's over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life. If this wasn't enough to win you over, check out their 30,000 5-star reviews. Incredible. Get 10% off your order today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/betterthanfood and using the discount code betterthanfood. The link is below. Thank you for considering. So today is As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. But first, if you enjoyed these reviews, a great free way to help the show would be to just hit the thumbs up and subscribe. It just helps this video get to people who would enjoy this book. I very much appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too, so thank you. Also, if you'd like to support the show and purchase some of these bookmarks, you can hit me up via the email below. If you shoot me a message, I can send you a quote. Thank you so much. This was sent to me by my friend and patron Jeff, who very unfortunately ended up with COVID in the hospital. So he's a big Faulkner fan, and while he's in the hospital, he started reading this. He's got a good sense of humor. He's fine now, thank God, to the best of my knowledge. So thank you very much for this book, Jeff. I loved it, and I hope the recovery is going well. Also, I'd like to mention that upon recommendation of my friend and patron Robert, I am drinking the official Café du Monde Chicory Coffee from New Orleans, where they actually have the Faulkner House books, which I've been to. And if you ever get the chance, I highly recommend it. It's pretty cool. I'd like to explore New Orleans more. I wasn't there for a long time. It's a shame. I blended here with my Ethiopian that I've roasted, and it is strong, very strong. I'll left a link below if you want to try it. I got material for this review from a couple of lectures I've linked to below. One is by Wai Chee Dimock, and the other is by Arnold Weinstein. Both are great, and I highly suggest you check them out. So today I'm going to discuss this short Southern Gothic masterpiece by one of the greatest authors to have ever lived, Ernest Hemingway. Just making sure you're paying attention. William Faulkner. He's quickly becoming one of my favorites. So he started writing As I Lay Dying on the day the stock market crashed in 1929 while working the graveyard shift at a power plant. Took him 6 weeks, and he said he didn't change a word, which is not true, but... So this story takes place in Faulkner's recurring fictional location of Yoknapatawpha County, based on Lafayette County, Mississippi, where he lived. It's about the matriarch of a family who dies, and they, her family, cart her body in a coffin in a wagon through the countryside, followed by buzzards, and facing all manner of biblical proportioned peril. Irony of ironies, the other day when I was out on a walk, there's a place where you can look out and see Oregon across the river, right? And I'm walking up to this it's kind of a ridge, kind of this park area on the side of this cliff. And I see this black shape circling above me, and it lands on a tree. And sure enough, it's a buzzard. Just one, eyeing me, stalking. And I even got a picture of it. It's like, you know, not at all unsettling. I never ever had that happen in my life, I don't think. I don't think ever. I don't know if I've even seen one in Washington, maybe. There wasn't anybody with me, and it's like, if that thing wanted to, like, you know, take your eyes, I doubt it would have that much trouble. And I was reading a book at the time with that very scene, you know, just this body trailed by buzzards following Addie in the coffin. Except in the book, instead of one, there's like 12, so that's a very simple premise, but immediately when this book begins, you know what you're getting into. As the first scene is of this woman, Addie Bundren, laying in her bed dying out in this house in the Mississippi countryside, while one of her sons outside, Cash, he's good with tools, he makes stuff, is building her coffin and having her approve it piece by piece. There will be some spoilers in here, just to note. I know you're busy, and a lot of us don't have much time, but it's the most accessible and economical Faulkners that I've read. You're really going to get the most Faulknerian bang for your buck with As I Lay Dying, as far as like time commitment. It's kind of a mythic adventure story about the impermanence of existence, but the striving towards survival, told from multiple perspectives. Not unlike To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, which I just reviewed, using stream of consciousness and interior monologue techniques, reading it in their voices. Possibly pioneering, I'm not sure. You really like Joyce, Woolf, Faulkner, they're all kind of using these, they're all experimenting with these techniques. The premise is kind of simple. Ants, a Mississippi man, has promised his dying wife, Addie, that when she dies, he'll take her back to this place called Jefferson in Mississippi and bury her, enlisting the help of his sons and one daughter. What that entails is nothing short of an endeavor, an adventure, and pilgrimage of Odyssean proportion. And I've read the Odyssey way back. I mean, I was a kid, so I don't remember anything except like Scylla and Charybdis. Time for a reread on that one. The title, As I Lay Dying, comes from the Odyssey. When Agamemnon says to Odysseus, "As I lay dying, the woman with the dog's eyes would not close my eyes as I descended into Hades." Eyes, right. Orpheus' journey to the underworld, Dante in hell, finding Colonel Kurtz, Werner Herzog dragging the ship over the Amazon mountain. This is the territory in which this narrative resides, as it's the story of this seemingly impossible journey. And also, the very first thing that I noticed, above all other motifs in As I Lay Dying, was Faulkner's heavy use of metaphor, but specifically for eyes. You'll notice that there are more descriptions of people's eyes than just about anything else. And they're stunning, some of them. I mean, really striking. I think this is a description of Addie in the bed. Her eyes are like two candles when you watch them gutter down into the sockets of iron candlesticks. That's just, I mean, yeah. I'll write something one day. So she dies, Addie dies, and this family is traveling in a wagon with this dead, rotting body in a coffin in the summer. People are disgusted by the stench wherever they stop. They're very, very poor. They don't have any money or resources to really accomplish this. The bridges on this river go out. They have to cross this river without any bridges. Yeah, biblical. It starts to become this traveling circus of strange characters. This truly odd family dedicated to a single mission, which is bury Addie, whatever's left of her, in Jefferson. So the characters are Ants, the father, Addie Bundren, the woman dying in the beginning, and later the woman in the coffin, Cash, Jewel, whom Addie loves more than all the others, and who's actually illegitimate, Darrell, her daughter Dewey Dell, and then finally, the youngest of all of them, this strange little boy named Vardaman, who is he's like the comedic relief of the book. And who has this kind of a strange psychological association through the trauma of Addie's death, where he believes that she has actually turned into a fish. He believes his mother has turned into a fish. And he says that Jewel's mother is a horse. He says that over and over again. And Jewel has this horse that he's worked very hard for and lost a lot of sleep to pay for. It's like his prized possession. He loves this horse, and it kind of represents Addie. And what's interesting is that his mother sort of is a horse in kind of a metaphorical way in this book. There's this scene where he rescues a horse from this burning barn, and the way they describe it's almost like this metamorphosis, right? This coffin containing his mother turns into a horse, or vice versa. It's epic psychologically and very physically in a way that I'm not sure I've ever experienced in another book. There's a few of my favorites come pretty close, but this might be one of the best I've ever read. I mean, it really is amazing. One thing I love about the book is the short chapters, and every chapter is named the character whose point of view the chapter is written in. So you're stepping into all of these different minds. You're stepping into all these people's thoughts and perspectives. You never reach an objective truth in the narrative. So each chapter differs from the previous and the following, I believe. And they're all wildly different. For example, Vardaman's are kind of funny and bizarre. right? Darls are philosophical and thought-provoking. Darl is, like Wikipedia says, the most articulate, though ironically, he goes insane. They send him off to Jackson, like Benji from The Sound of the Fury. Addie's one chapter is pitch black dark, profound, and sort of terrifying in its confessional honesty. And one could kind of make a pretty convincing case, in my opinion, that she was, in fact, in some ways at least, evil. You see, she was a school teacher, and she talks about enjoying when students would misbehave so she could beat them, essentially. It's really disturbing. But it has more meanings than just that. The meanings are layered, and it's a metaphor as well. Weinstein mentions in the lecture below for writing, the act of writing itself, which is very compelling. This is from the chapter just called Addie, starts on page 169 in this version. I could just remember how my father used to say that the reason for living was to get ready to stay dead a long time. And when I would have to look at them day after day, each with his and her secret and selfish thought, and blood strange to each other blood and strange to mine, and think that this seemed to be the only way I could get ready to stay dead, I would hate my father for having ever planted me. I would look forward to the times when they faulted, so I could whip them. When the switch fell, I could feel it upon my flesh. When it welted and ridged, it was my blood that ran. And I would think with each blow of the switch, now you are aware of me. Now I am something in your secret and selfish life, who have marked your blood with my own forever and ever. And this fellow named Arnold Weinstein, who I've linked below, this professor at Brown, gives this absolutely fantastic talk on As I Lay Dying, which was a great help with this review and understanding Faulkner's intentions. And Weinstein actually draws a comparison between that violent action of inflicting pain and the act, in Faulkner's case, of the writer inflicting themselves on the reader. Both of them in this kind of existential way of violently demanding recognition for their existence, inflicting their mark in a way that is painful to both the victim and them. Now you are aware of me. Now I am something in your secret and selfish life, who have marked your blood with my own forever and ever. That's one of the bigger surprises in the book, for me. I didn't expect Addie to be so I mean, evil. You know, I don't know what else to call her. Or so vicious, but also kind of deliberately vicious. He describes the book in Faulkner as having this pagan quality, which is so true. It's very base. It's of the earth, of the physical material from which we are constructed, and questioning what it is that we are and what, through death, we shall transform into. It's all about the components that create mankind and the kind of like forge things and then but also become destroyed and drift back into the stream, you know, the kind of the scheme of things, life and death. It reminded me of The Peregrine by J.A. Baker, which itself is kind of a pagan birdwatching journal, filled with flora and fauna and death. What Faulkner is doing is playing with expectation, and very well. In his novels of these southern people, these southern characters, he is really giving them such incredible knowledge. I mean, it's like Heidegger out in the woods, you know? I mean, they're really, really quite insightful and articulate and unbelievably perceptive and able to express this, right? You know, as well as any philosophers, or even better. These poor backwoods characters are actually deeply intelligent, filled with all kinds of rich inner stories and existential conflicts and wisdom. Again, it's that magnificent, surprising blend of high and low. I find that I'm always very receptive to books that are able to walk those lines, right? So a little bit about Faulkner. I feel like I've discussed Faulkner in the previous reviews. So in this, I'll just say that William Faulkner was an American author from Mississippi who is considered not only one of the greatest Southern authors, but one of the greatest authors of the 20th century period. Probably just one of the greatest authors who ever lived. This is the third of his that I've read, and I have to admit, I far prefer this one to The Sound and the Fury. And that was the last I read. And he wrote that just before this one. It's a similar setup as well. Also about a poor Southern family where the narrative is told through multiple perspectives, using the same techniques of stream of consciousness and interior monologue. My favorite is still Absalom, I think. Though I wonder, after this one, I want to reread it immediately. There are some eerie things about Faulkner's death that I'd like to discuss in this review, as it seems appropriate. Some things that I couldn't help but notice. Vardaman at one point beats these horses with a stick, saying, "You killed her." Basically, you killed my mom. He believes the horses killed his mother somehow. But the dark truth, where fiction blends with reality, is that Faulkner himself, indirectly, was killed by a horse. When he was in his 60s, he fell off his own horse and developed thrombosis. Now that's really interesting. Weinstein below discusses this great line in the book, talking about being as a clotting, like of elements. Like, you know, the clot of all the elements that is you. The line is, "As though the clotting which is you had dissolved into the original myriad motion." Gorgeous line. The idea of our disintegration or flow back into the stream of things, the stream of energy, the universe, whatever. The flow of blood, the flow of time, the flow of water, and the things, the stuff that makes up the body. I don't know what I'm talking about, but there's something fascinating here about what it means to be. Anyways, the clotting which is you. Well, what's thrombosis? I learned that it's a blood clot. Faulkner had it from falling off his horse, then had a heart attack and died. Life is stranger than fiction. Faulkner, like Proust, suffered from insomnia, so he wrote this in the middle of the night while working at a power plant in Mississippi. Yeah. Okay, so you know, this was after he wrote The Sound and the Fury, right? That's interesting to me. It just goes to show, even if you've written a book that's going to be considered an American classic, you still might find yourself working the graveyard shift at a power plant. Man, life's a bitch. I think he did eventually sell his work and live from that, but it just goes to show. It's just interesting. For those of you who are new to Faulkner, I'd actually recommend starting with this one and then working in the reverse order that I went. I would do this one, then I would do Sound of the Fury, then I would do Absalom, Absalom. Absolutely essential reading for Southern Gothic Literature 101. It's really just a perfect book. It's a beautiful, dark, sometimes disturbing, occasionally funny Southern Gothic epic with enormous depth. Little boring, little slow sometimes, as the style varies, considering you have like 100 people's different points of view. Exaggeration, but not by much. It's also about family and forgiveness and overcoming immense adversity together. Floods, fires, betrayal, though what it means in the end, I'm really not sure. As in the end, it's a little ambiguous, kind of like life itself. Better than food, without question. So you should read it. Well, if you enjoyed Blood Meridian or anything by Cormac McCarthy, absolutely. Anything by Flannery O'Connor, The Peregrine by J.A. Baker, Equus by Peter Schaffer, definitely had some similar vibes, the kind of pagan nature of it, the deification of horses. And I assume, though I haven't read it, Moby Dick. All right. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, I take the names of the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video, and I place their names in this mason jar, and I pull out a name for every review I do, and whoever's name I pull out, I send them a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing, plus a bag of coffee, roasted by yours truly. And the coffee is delicious. I roasted an Ethiopian recently. Excellent. If you would like to get in on that and help support the show, you can click on the link below, or go to patreon.com/booksarebetterthanfood and donate $5 or more per video. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much. $1 or more will get you access to the Patreon-only reviews, the Discord channel, which is awesome for recommendations and memes, and the Better Than Friday newsletter that I send out every Friday, which is just a list of 5 different things I'm interested in at any given time. Could be books in the pipeline, music, film, essays, interviews with figures or writers, poems, changes week to week. If you feel we have similar taste, I think you'll enjoy that. Unfortunately, international shipping is not included. Thank you very much to all the patrons, and best of luck. Okay, here we go. Marshall B. Thank you very much, Marshall. You're going to receive As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner, plus a bag of delicious coffee. Hope you enjoy both. Thank you so much. I think that's all I've got for you today. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please always remember, always bring a book, wherever you go. Great to see you as always. Take care of yourselves. Have a good night. Talk to you soon.